Words from the Departed. It was the summer of 2011 in Oakland, California. I was putting on my dress clothes that my mom had picked out for me from the mall the day before because I'm pretty much a last-minute kind of guy. Always have been. I fixed my tie and took a long look in the mirror. This was it. In a few hours, I'll be a high school graduate. I heard a knock on my door followed by the words, "Brandon, you decent?" "Yeah," I replied. The doorknob turned and my mom walked in. "Wow, don't you look handsome?" "Thanks," I said, smiling. "I hope you like the outfit," she said. The store clerk was shocked that I was buying fancy clothing for such a special event at the last minute. They rushed to get the alterations done in time. "I don't know why I leave things right at the end," I said. "But I'm glad you're always here to bail me out." "Well, let's hope when you head to university in the fall, I won't have to do that," she said with a playful but stern tone. "What time is it?" I asked. "Almost 9:30, my mom replied. "Damn. The ceremony begins in an hour," I said. "I better get going. I have to pick up Harvey and Selena on the way." "Okay, honey," she said. "Matt, your sister, and I will meet you there. And don't you three musketeers go on another one of your random adventures. Remember, I'm hosting a small party here for you guys after." "Yeah, I know," I said. I grabbed my keys and got into my silver Infiniti G37. My phone kept buzzing. I pulled it out and saw 15 new text messages. They were from my classmates. I scrolled through most, except for two. One was from Selena, and the other Harvey. Both said the same thing. "Where are you?" To which I responded with, "On my way." I laughed to myself. I don't know why Harvey would ask me where I am. He lives 8 houses down and could clearly see if my car was still in the driveway. On the other hand, Selena lived on the next street around the corner. Harvey could have told her if I had left or not. They were both trying to be funny, I guess, and that's why they were my best friends. We've known each other since we were toddlers. Our parents became good friends, so we always had playdates. Since then, they called us the Three Musketeers because we were always hanging out and covering for each other. In fact, one year in the 5th grade, we actually went as the Three Musketeers. We were in different classes at the time, but at lunch hour, we hung out together. We even won an award and a bag of candy for best costume. I still have that picture of us framed in my bedroom. I pulled up to Harvey's house and he was standing outside waiting. "About time you got here," he said tauntingly. "I had high hopes that you would be here early to a pretty important day." "Sorry, Mr. Valedictorian," I said sarcastically. "When did you write your speech? In the womb?" "Very funny," Harvey said as he got into the car. "I wrote it 3 weeks ago." "Same thing," I teased back. "You're always early and overly prepared for everything. If it wasn't for me giving you a ride to school today, you'd probably be there 4 hours early helping the teachers set up. Ever heard of being fashionably late?" I could see Harvey was annoyed with me proving my point. He was a smart guy, but pretty quiet. And when he felt like it, he would hit you with a witty comeback. "You know, Brandon, they call us the Three Musketeers, right?" "Yeah," I said. "Well, imagine Selena and I being in danger, fighting some kind of trouble, and the power struggle is real. We end up defeated and dead. And then 2 hours later, you arrive in your fashionably late nature. Tell me, in what way could you possibly help the situation?" "All right," I said. "That's where my late arrival theory fails. Let's say there are exceptions for everything." We parked in front of Selena's house. I honked the horn, and she was out of the door within a couple of minutes. She was wearing a flared light pink and white floral spaghetti strap dress. Her dark brown hair was parted to the side and slightly curled. She looked stunning. I won't lie, I had a little bit of a crush on her. Who wouldn't? But because of friendship, I didn't want to cross that line. "Hello, boys," she said, getting into the back seat of the car. "Brendan, we have to be at school in half an hour to get into our caps and gowns." "Don't worry about it," I said with ease. "Let's grab a smoothie, which will take 10 minutes, and then we'll make our way to school." "Sure, I could go for something cool," said Selena. "It's very humid outside." We went to the local latte and smoothie drive-thru. There were 4 cars ahead of us, which wasn't too bad. We looked at the menu and decided on mango smoothies. 5 minutes passed, and the line wasn't moving. We tried to go back out and leave, but there were already 10 cars at least behind us. I spoke into the order speaker. "Hey ma'am, how long will this take? We're in a bit of a rush." She replied with her apologies and said she was the only one taking orders and making the drinks, that the next worker would arrive in an hour. Looks like we have to wait it out, I said. Great, sighed Harvey. You and your clever ideas. We could have skipped the drinks until later, but no, you're so stubborn. How was I supposed to predict there would be a line this long, I replied. Look, this may be an ordinary day for you, Brandon, but for some people it's a huge accomplishment, said Harvey. Enough, said Selena, raising her voice. You two need to stop blaming each other. Look, said Harvey, the school is about a 15-minute walk. I'll meet you guys there. He opened the door and left. Bro, it's 71 degrees out there. You're gonna sweat like crazy, I yelled out the window. Brandon, relax, said Selena. I'm going to go with Harvey. I'll pick up your cap and gown just in case you end up getting there late. She got out of the car and ran to catch up to Harvey. I was angry at myself for disappointing my friends. I did have a poor habit of choosing the least priority things first. I knew I had to work on changing that. It was finally my turn. I paid the barista and took the tray of smoothies. I checked the clock. I had about 22 minutes until graduation, and I was 7 minutes away from school. Plenty of time to park, line up, and rub it in Harvey's face that he was wrong and I made it on time. When I walked into the school, all the 12th graders were already in order. They were all giving me the stare. I awkwardly smiled and looked for Harvey and Selena, who were in different parts of the line. I handed them their drinks. Hey, buddy, I said to Harvey. Sorry about earlier. You're right about me, and I'll work on being a bit more prepared. All the best on your speech. You'll kill it, I said. My teacher, Mrs. Thompson, then walked up to me and said, Make sure you finish this drink before the ceremony. If you can't, then throw out the rest. I agreed and slurped on my smoothie. The principal arrives at the front of the line and belches out instructions. Good morning, class of 2011. I have a couple of things I'd like to say. Everything is set up for the commencement in the green area of where we host most of our track meets. The Parents and Teachers Council have worked extra hard to give you this event. Be sure to thank them and be on your best behavior. If it's brought to my attention that you were uncooperative, I know that it's your last day here, but I won't hesitate to call you during the summer holidays for a week of detention. Is that clear? Other than that, congratulations and have fun. We clapped out of respect. Thank you, Mr. Porter, said Mrs. Thompson. We have about 10 minutes left before we get out there, so this is your last call to use the bathroom. After the smoothie, I didn't want to take the chances, so I went to the bathroom. In single file, my classmates and I headed to the field. I instantly felt the change between the cold air from the AC to the heat of the sun. We sat in the chairs at the front of the stage while parents and friends were further back. The principal made his welcome speech, and then each teacher went up by their division and called out names. Selena went on the stage before me to get her diploma. My name was finally called, Brendan Mathers. The crowd clapped as they did for the rest of the kids, and I could see my mom standing up cheering and Matt holding my sister in one arm while taking a video with the next. After the diplomas were handed out, it was time to give the closing valedictorian speech. I'd like to call upon once more Harvey Walker to the stage, said Mr. Porter. He is this year's valedictorian and recipient of the Johnson Priestley Scholarship, a fund created by the founder of our school for the most contributing and promising student of the year. This will cover Harvey's entire university school tuition. There was a huge applause as Harvey walked onto the stage and shook Mr. Porter's hand. Wow, this is completely unexpected, he said into the mic. I thought I was going to give some cheesy speech to my peers and their supporters. There was a bunch of laughs from the audience. I have nothing prepared on that note, but thanks so much for this recognition. I'll try my best to make you all proud, said Harvey, and then he went on with his speech. I'm sorry, Mr. Porter. I know you approved my speech, but I made some last-minute changes, and I promise it's appropriate, for the most part. Mr. Porter held half a smile. He really hated surprises. Our whole lives, we're encouraged by our teachers and parents to prepare. Prepare for school, prepare for exams, prepare for college, prepare for speeches like this one. Nothing wrong with practicing that. But if you're me, that habitual trait to always be ready can make you not just full of anxiety, but a pretty boring person. A person who misses out on other parts of life that are just as important, like enjoying the moment, including the company you're with, instead of overthinking and planning your next move. This is a lesson I learned not too long ago through a great person I call my friend, said Harvey. He made eye contact with me. So I would just like to say, to be happy in life or to even succeed in your goals is to be balanced. Prepare for some occasions and be spontaneous with others, all while being in the present moment. I'll be practicing that this entire summer. I'll strive to go with the flow at times, especially when having fun. I think the greatest fear comes when you don't know what's next or what your reaction will be. But to not know or have the right answers right away can sometimes be in the best interest. I hope what I said makes some sort of sense. I'll just end off with extending my congratulations to you all and wishing you every bit of triumph in your endeavors. Remember, no matter what, always go after your dreams, because a career that you don't choose is a constant nightmare only you experience. Thank you. The crowd whistled and clapped. Harvey exited the stage. His winged speech was very good, classy, but he ended off on a dull note rather than something uplifting, and that's not like Harvey. He's the most positive person I've ever known. That night, Selena was the first to arrive at my house with her parents and her 2 older twin brothers. My mom had hired a chef who made some fancy appetizers that I have no clue what the names are, but tasted real good. Matt was out in the backyard cooking up some burgers and sausages. Matt was my mother's fiancé, and my little sister, who was 3 years old, was their daughter. My dad passed away when I was 12. He died in a car accident. The truck driver who hit him was drunk. That loss still triggers me every time. I haven't been able to ever get over his death. My dad's name was Vic Mathers. He had his own coffee chain business of 7 locations. He was on his way to a business meeting that day to sign papers for another 3. His storefronts were widely popular and the coffees were affordable prices, not like Starbucks at all. It was very family friendly. I would have joined the business the moment I had graduated high school. That was the plan. But after my dad died, my mom couldn't manage everything on her own, so she closed down all the locations except one, just to keep in the memory of my dad. And based off of my dad's wealth, we have no money problems for life. I mean, I could never work, and my great-grandkids could never work, and we would be fine. My mom met Matt at a clinic. He was actually her therapist. He fell in love with her the moment he saw her. Even after hearing about her problems and her past, he still wanted to be with her. It's been 6 years since they've been together. Some kids may not like their parents marrying someone else, but to me, my mother's happiness was everything. She shouldn't be alone forever. Me to expect that of her was selfish, and I'm a lot of things, but selfish isn't one of those traits. It wasn't until 8:30 p.m. that Harvey and his parents showed up. "Sorry we're late, Ellen," said Mrs. Walker. "We got carried away talking on the phone with relatives who wanted to congratulate our lovely son on his achievements." My mom insisted that an apology wasn't necessary and proceeded to ask if they would like something to drink. I looked at Harvey and his eyes were a bit red, as if he'd been crying. While everyone was still downstairs, I signaled Selena to follow Harvey and I upstairs to my room for a quick meeting. I asked Harvey what was going on and if he was okay. "I'm fine," he said. "You don't look it," replied Selena. "Even if I wasn't," said Harvey, "you guys won't be able to help me." "We could try," she said. "You guys already know by now how my parents are, that their social status is everything to them. All my life, they've been pushing me to be the same, to make decisions based off of their needs. I listened, because out of guilt that my parents couldn't have any more kids, I was the only hope for a legacy, but now I feel they shaped me into something I'm not. The final decision they made for me was enough for me to retaliate back in my speech this morning." Harvey wiped the tears away from his face. "Is that why you said that part about always go after your dreams because a career that you don't choose is a constant nightmare only you experience?" I asked. "Yes," he said. "My parents figured out it was about them, and they gave me a 3-hour lecture on my inappropriate behavior and how I shouldn't publicly display my problems and that I should talk to them about it first. But clearly, they don't listen." Selena and I tried to console him, but Harvey clearly was having a breakdown. "I was looking forward to starting university at Berkeley with you guys," he said. "But what's the point when I don't have the freedom to choose what I want to study?" "I thought you got accepted into the sociology program," I questioned. "I did. but my dad said that I should reconsider and go into some kind of construction business related to his job. Me being an engineer would give him bragging rights, but when I said no, he took me to Berkeley and forcefully had me change my major. What an a-hole, I shouted. Well, Harvey, you are 18, said Selena, and as an adult you have every right to make decisions that will impact your future self. My idea is we go to the registrar's office this summer and change back your major. What if my dad finds out? He will for sure kill me, said Harvey. How? I said. You just won't tell him, and if he finds out, you'll be well into your first year. What is he gonna do? Take you out of school? I'm in, said Harvey. Oh, by the way, said Selena, before I forget, I got us this little gift to commemorate this day. She handed us a rectangle jewelry box. Inside was a gold necklace that had a sword pendant. Wow, said Harvey, this is really cool. We are the 3 Musketeers for life, said Selena. Shall we seal the deal, I said. We all put our hands in and recited, one for all, and all for one. That summer was one for the books. We were rarely home. We spent most days at the mall or theme parks, ate at restaurants, and went to so many concerts including Machine Gun Kelly, Rihanna, and Imagine Dragons. Our favorite spot, though, was a quiet part in the woods. That area was clear-cut. There was a fire pit and massive rocks surrounding it, and just a lone tree in the center. We used to sit on the rocks, sometimes light a fire. We had our first experiences drinking alcohol that Harvey had stolen from his dad's stash. We carved messages into the tree, and some nights, laid on a blanket looking up at the stars. In no time, it was fall, and we rolled up to Berkeley with confidence. All right, boys, this is it. We're officially entering the mature world, said Selena. My dance class starts in 20 minutes. I better make my way there. And then she left. Selena was an exceptional dancer. She would always perform at the school talent shows. If she was given choreography in any genre, she would nail it. I was glad she was pursuing her passion. Harvey asked me if I was excited about attending my first legal studies course. Hell yeah, I replied. I haven't been so sure of something in my whole life. I think I'll make an awesome lawyer one day. You will, he said, and maybe you can help me win a case against my parents because I'll probably sue them for defamation or something. We both laughed. Harvey had really transformed this summer. He was more talkative, funny, and happy. He reminded me of all those years when we were younger. He was just carefree. It was nice to have him back to his real self. Study sessions were in full swing as midterms approached. When marks came back, Selena excelled with straight A's and so did Harvey. I had a few C pluses and B's, but I'll admit it was way better than what I was scoring back in high school. One night in December, I was studying for final exams. I get a call from Harvey. He's upset. My parents found out the truth, man, he said. They're threatening to either take me out of school or disown me. I'm dead to them. I could hear his dad shouting in the background and the sounds of something breaking. I'll come and pick you up, I said. But before I could finish, his mother grabbed the phone and spoke. Brendan, dear, Harvey will have to call you back later. And then she hung up. I wanted to rush over there at the moment to protect my friend, but I had to respect his parents' request. I called Selena, but she didn't pick up, and then I realized she was still at school today until 9 p.m. I washed up and went down for dinner. My phone began pinging. I knew it was Harvey texting, but the rule in my house is no phones when seated at the table for dinner. My mom gave me the look, and I knew I had to wait until after to text Harvey. After dinner, I checked my phone. I had received 3 texts from Harvey saying, "It didn't end well. I left the house. Where are you?" I responded with, "I finished dinner. Tell me where you're headed and I'll meet you." After about half an hour, when I didn't hear a reply, I called him. He didn't answer his phone. I thought he probably went back home and his parents were giving him the usual lecture. So, I went to bed. The doorbell rang several times and there were loud knocks at the door. I woke up and checked my phone. It was 3 a.m. Who could it be? I heard my mom opening the door, followed by someone crying. It sounded like Harvey's mom. I made my way downstairs. She saw me and asked, "Brendan, is Harvey here?" "No, he's not," I said. "Oh my God, where could he be at this time? We had an argument earlier this evening and he left the house and didn't come back. We called the police and they are out looking for him." My heart dropped. I got my phone and began calling him, but no answer. I tried 5 more times and still nothing. I called Selena and after 4 rings I heard a quiet voice. "Hello? Brendan? What's up?" "Is Harvey there?" I asked. "No. Why?" Why would he be here? She said. Because he had a fight with his parents and left the house. He hasn't returned back yet, I said. What? That's crazy, she said. Harvey's responsible. He would never do that. I said, did you get any text from him last night? Yeah, she said. He mentioned he left his house. I was at school, so I missed his text and call. But when I returned his call, he didn't pick up. Selena, I'm gonna go look for him, I replied. She told me she was worried too and she wanted to come along. It was pouring rain outside. I put my coat on and was about to leave the house when my mom said, where are you going? Harvey's my best friend, I said. I'm going to find him and I'm going to bring him home. I pushed past the doorway where my mom and Harvey's mom were standing. After picking up Selena, we drove around for what seemed like forever. We didn't find Harvey. Selena kept calling him, but now it just went to voicemail. We were giving up hope when I thought we should check out the spot in the woods where we would chill out. When we got there, we ran out of the car yelling, Harvey, Harvey, are you here? Now, this is the hardest thing that I'm gonna share. I have goosebumps all over my body. It's gut-wrenching. The sight of it was horrific. I was in disbelief. Hanging from the tree was Harvey. Selena screamed and cried uncontrollably. My heart sank. This can't be real. I kept saying out loud, over and over again, he's pranking us. What happened to one for all and all for one, huh? You are a coward. Wake up, you jerk. But Harvey's limp body didn't even flinch. Selena was in a state of shock, so I had to break the news to the family. We waited there until the cops arrived. The next couple of weeks were a blur. The police investigated the case, trying to find any possible leads. Harvey's parents were asked to give a statement. Selena and I were also questioned because we were connected quite closely to Harvey. Eventually, foul play was ruled out. It was a suicide, and no charges can be laid for self-inflicted crimes, even though I felt his parents were the ones that pushed him to the edge. The only evidence they found was a piece of paper in his pocket that read, "The most spontaneous thing I've ever done," followed by a check mark at the end. The guy was always prepared, and yet he couldn't even write a proper goodbye. I couldn't focus on school, and I didn't have an appetite. At Harvey's funeral, I struggled through my speech. I blamed myself. I was never punctual, and now it cost me my best friend. Why couldn't I break the rules for once and answered my text that day? Why couldn't I be the one to save him? Was the pressure that intense he had to take his own life? I doubt he would be embarrassed to talk to us, but even if he was, why didn't he call a helpline or something? Those resources would have given him steps to lay his inner demons to rest. I kept reading through texts he had sent me over the years. That's all I have left of him. I would never see him again. Except, I sort of did. It was 1 month since Harvey's death, and his 19th birthday was today, January 25th. Selena and I were watching a montage of clips she put together for all of us. There are parts where we laughed out loud, and parts where tears trickled down our face. It was 2:30 in the morning, and Selena decided she would sleep over. She went into the guest room, and I went into my room. That night, I felt a heavy feeling on my chest, as if someone was on me. I tried to move, but I couldn't, and I thought the logical explanation would be sleep paralysis. But then I heard in my ear Harvey's voice. "I'm here to take you with me. Join me." I instantly opened my eyes and sat up in my bed. I was sweating. In the morning, while Selena and I were having breakfast, she told me how she thinks she felt Harvey's presence last night. What she described to me is the exact experience I had. When I told her my encounter was identical to hers, we both freaked. We didn't know if it really was Harvey or something that manipulated him, and it was something much, much darker. A few weeks passed, and I was at my desk doing homework. It was 12:45 in the morning. I was listening to music when my iPod's volume started to go down on its own. I made nothing of it and put it back up. It happened again. But then in my headphones, I heard, "Look outside." I thought that was all in my mind, until I heard something hit my window. I parted the shutters and saw what looked like Harvey. He was wearing the same outfit the night he died. It was a leather jacket with a hoodie, dark blue jeans, and white Nikes. I couldn't see his face because the hoodie was on and there was a shadow hiding it. I saw him turn away and walk down the street. Then he disappeared. For weeks to come, Selena and I had similar encounters of Harvey on the daily, but we didn't know what to do to make it stop. It was making us paranoid and creeped out. One Friday night we were watching TV. It was one of those supernatural ones about mediums going into houses and checking for ghosts. One of the psychics suggested that if there is something of the deceased that connects you to them, that may cause them to stick around. If we let that object go, that will stop them from lingering and they will move on. Selena said, "Hey, you know those pendants I gave you and Harvey? Maybe that is what is causing him to get to us. What if we just got rid of them? After all, what's the point of 3 musketeers when there's only 2 people?" I really loved that pendant, but was willing to give it a shot. The next afternoon we went to the part of the woods where we used to hang out and the place where Harvey took his life. We buried the pendants by the tree where we found Harvey's body, in an attempt to symbolize that the musketeers were laid to rest together. We sat down for a bit on the rocks in silence, contemplating. Shortly after, a white dove perched on the branch of the tree. I've never seen a bird ever sit there whenever we had visited. I knew it was a sign that Harvey was at peace. I guess that tip from the psychic worked because Selena and I never felt Harvey's presence again. Hey Scary Story fans! I'm Suzanna Dutt, and thanks for listening to these short tales written and narrated by me. I hope you enjoyed them. If you have a creepy story that's fiction or non-fiction and would like me to share it in the next featured video, feel free to email it to the address in the description below. In the meantime, sweet dreams.